everyone. This is RAND, and welcome to the Global Guided Meditation Call for Wednesday, September 25, 2024. We'll be having a time for change call tonight, a little after 9:15 p.m. Eastern. And I'm just naming it the truth. Now imagine that you're in a physical material body, but you're not the body. For many, that's a tough nut to crack, because we're so used to this illusion of information and physical form and material things and people and so on and so forth. Now, some of us do know that we're in a body that's highly emotional. And so it's just a big challenge for us, because we're pure consciousness, or God, however you want to label it, in these bodies. And we all make up the One. And the One is a complete cosmic form of energetic frequency that's on the highest level, that's in a way housed in these bodies and with every one of us. And all of us make that up. It's what creation is about. And we're the ones, the energies that we are, collectively. That's why you'll hear co-creation and those types of words. And we're heavily immersed in truth, unmitigated truth. And we're on this planet. Every one of us have the same path, but we have different parts of that path. We're kind of have selected, not really assigned, but selected to operate in certain pathways on the planet to do certain things. And what we're doing is we're eliminating pure evil. And we're not doing it by their standards, which I mean the lower frequencies, where it's conflict and destruction and harm and dissipation and so on and so forth. It's more that as we increase, this planet, excuse me, is, the frequencies of this planet are higher than they've ever been. And I mean in a good way. And so it's affecting people. It's affecting, because remember, we're in these emotional bodies. And some people would believe that it's not good, that it's bad, and they're being attacked and that type of thing. And actually what's happening is the entire body of the civilization is being lifted while we're in these bodies. It's quite interesting. So, but so many are just so disconnected from comprehending that, because they haven't even begun to discover who and what they are. And so and to some it's frightening, to some it's debilitating, some depression, and all these different things. If you don't understand something, if you don't comprehend something, you don't have any source of information to bring into you to say, okay, so I know what's going on here. I have a handle on it, so to speak, somewhat, to know what I'm experiencing here. It's not in the negative aspect on the spiritual, cosmic level, and then we're dealing with the physical material, which is an illusion. It's very good from the standpoint is that when you experience these things, emotional ups and downs, and that you really haven't experienced them to the depth you are now, it's because your frequencies, and this is in cooperation with the gods that we are, not the body, because there's a lot of disconnect there on not a on a figurative basis. And so we assimilate what we can, we review what we can. Many of us know that everything in front of us, everything going on now, is not truth. It doesn't. And we know that because it just doesn't, when we assimilate it, it's kind of like a bad taste. What we see, what we hear, what we believe we're convinced about is all, and it's all crap. But the effects of it on many of us on this planet are heavy because of where we're at in our development on this planet, and so it becomes very confusing. And if you're in an unknown area that you've never been in before, and you don't have any kind of resource information that you've compiled in this life and past lives, it becomes very disconcerting because there's nothing you can compare it to or review with it or compare any of it because it's not there. So it becomes very sticky at times. And most people on the planet believe that, this is all, this doom and gloom stuff is, the end of this and the end of that, and what are we going to do, and, how is this going to happen? But deep down inside, there are some of us that realize that this is what we're going through the experience, because what you're witnessing on this planet is a complete, right finite, right down to the quantum quark, all the way down, the complete elimination of pure evil. This is what we're experiencing. Now, we haven't, in many lifetimes, we haven't experienced that. Even though that many don't have recall, in other words, they can, dip into past lives and review things unobjectively from a viewer or watcher or observer standpoint, so that the emotionality they don't immerse themselves in. So they, from a logic standpoint, they look at it and say, I understand, I comprehend what's going on this planet. You begin to move out of and you make this choice, you make this decision, not in a frustrating, anger, pressuring situation, but you know that everything that you're witnessing is a facade. And you realize that it is a play on the emotionality of the civilization. And there's so many things that keep increasing and keep intensifying. It does become, at times, very heavy for people because it seems to be nonstop. And then people say, well, I would like to see good things. I would like to see, really happy things happening and transitioning and people not suffering as much as they are on this planet right now. And that's a good thing because you're now able to differentiate between what's real and what's not. Now, the shift of that is that this. Many of us are not there with it. We're heavily steeped in our emotionality. What we see, a lot of it, whether we know it or not, we bring in, and we embrace it to a certain extent. And so we're in that frequency. And then others of us decide, I'm not going to be in that frequency anymore. I'm going to move out of it. I'll watch it, but I'm not going to be in it anymore. And that's a difficult turn because these bodies are so emotional. So that emotionality comes back in, and then we find ourselves in the middle of something again. But we know this time, we're aware. You say, that's okay, I stepped into it. I'm familiar with it. I've been with it for a long time, but I no longer care to actually participate in it. And it's not that we're, some people would think, well, then you're giving up. No, you're not giving up. You're just surrendering all of that garbage, all of that low frequency. Some of it appears pretty bright and, let's say stimulating to a certain extent. But we know that we are not the body. We know we are not the name and our holdings and everything else. That we're here temporarily to experience all this. And this is a massive experience for any of us because it's unprecedented in this part of the universe on what's going on. It's really exciting on the high end because we're really witnessing the end of pure evil on this planet. That's a huge thing because we all know that, and sometimes we'll pull from past lives. We don't know it, but we pull from past lives and we start to see things a lot clearer, not from a judgmental standpoint, but from the standpoint of saying, okay, I understand now. I comprehend this. You can understand something, but do you really comprehend it? So as we're transitioning, because that's what we're doing, and what we're witnessing, of course, is like I've said before, we're all crossing this torrential river. Some of us aren't going to keep a footing. That's understandable. Some of us, though, will fare through all of it, and then we'll get to the other side of the river, and then we're going to say, wow, that was one heck of a ride. That really tested me on all levels. And then you'll see truth flood in all over the place. You'll see the deceptions and the lies and the vindictiveness and the manipulation fade out. They'll just drop away. Not temporarily. And it's like almost a new dawn, but this is forever. This is a long term. So this planet is transitioning along with the cooperation of the planet, who houses a cosmic energy source, or God, or pure consciousness, which is absolutely magniglorious. It is, there aren't any words in our vocabulary that can really describe it because of the fact that it's never happened before. We've had failed attempts throughout the ages, kind of little sparks that started up and then were smothered out, but not this time. Everything, and this is the interesting part, because we start to discover for ourselves that we're not immersed in this. This is our creation. It's not a creation that created us. We're the creation that created it, specifically to learn and experience what it's like to eliminate pure evil from another entity. It's like if you see a dog that has really bad fleas, I mean, they've really taken over the dog's surface body, and the dog's in pain and suffering, and you feel for the dog, and it's just infested. And you try different applications, and they help a little bit here and there, but they don't totally mitigate it. And so it's like that on this planet, on the surface of the planet, that it sounds kind of strange, but it's a flea infestation that we now have the cure for, to completely, permanently eliminate the infestation, which causes pain, sorrow, anguish, depression, irritability, aggressiveness, which causes some of us to become manipulative and subversive. And that's why, because it's so painful for many of us to go through this, to experience it. And now imagine that the majority of the population doesn't really know at all. So the majority of the population is heavily immersed in this facade that has been implemented. Now, when you agitate something, let's say a bear that's sleepy, keep poking the bear with a stick, right? And the bear just kind of moves around and is still sleeping. But if you keep poking that bear, it's going to wake up and it's going to be highly agitated. So with the dark matter frequencies on this planet, that's what's happened. The frequencies continue to increase. They continue to accelerate. They continue to rise and ascend with everybody on the planet, every life form. This is going on right now. And we get a lot of calls from people that are concerned about things that are happening with their bodies that they've never really experienced before. And everybody seems to be different on their concerns about their bodies. Yes, we have these situations where we have different diseases and different anomalies that affect our bodies. We know that. Many of us have gone through it more than once. But this is different. It's more of a deep-seated release. And imagine if you're used to and you don't have the awareness that you're deep-seated in a system that is all false. But yet you've grown up with it for many lifetimes. So it's deep within these bodies. And so when we are immersed in it, a lot of it seems to be super real. You might say, I can't believe people are saying this isn't real because I'm experiencing some things I've never experienced before. Physically, usually it's physically, and it is emotionally, because like I said, these bodies are highly emotional. So as we go through this turmoil, the turmoil is the last effort of the dark. That's all it is. And when we look at it from an objective standpoint, and our point of view is outside of it, and we're watching and observing and not judging, then we're able to start to discern what that really means is that, the old adage, this too shall pass, but we're in it and we're experiencing it. And when a lot of us would like it to be gone now, let's get on with things. But because of the duration of the infestation of this planet, for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, it takes a bit, takes a while for this transition to occur. And you've heard me talk about the fact that we have a system, right, that we all participate in because we've been programmed to participate in it. And this system has been around a long time. Now, unfortunately, the system has been manipulated and directed and to control us and direct us and enslave us. Now, a lot of people don't know that. They look at it that this is the way life is and this is how things go, and and people accept that, and that's fine. But you can see on the flip side that we're ascending as a civilization. Ascension, to some people means it's real, easy and it's frolicking and free. But imagine all of that deep-seated training and programming through generations in these bodies is now being removed. And a lot of us, whether we know it or not, we embrace that. We don't care to let go of that. We want to hold on to it because it's something that we're familiar with, even though it's disruptive to us. And so as this continues, because it's going to continue on this ascension, this is what's happening with the people of planet Earth. There is a massive spiritual ascension going on, and everybody reacts to it in different ways. Some may look at it as ominous. Some may look at it as, wow, this is really freeing. I feel lighter and freer. And that's true. That's what you're feeling. The lighter and truer is that your frequency is increasing. You're ascending. And so you imagine being mired in all this crap for generation after generation. It's not an easy thing for any civilization in the ascension process. And the reason that is because we're not all on the same page. And that makes it much more difficult. But like our structure with these bodies, as I've shared with everybody, we're fifth dimensional beings, these bodies, we'll put it that way. We're infinite dimensional as gods. But in physical form, these bodies are fifth dimensional. And the dimension, which is kind of skewed on the planet, on the meaning of it, it just means that the frequencies increase collectively. And we enter a higher frequency existence on the planet. And this is why the meditation is so important, because it focuses us and centers us. Because the mind chatter gets more, the ego mind gets more agitated, because it's not used to any of this, and it feels that this is a threat to it. So this is why so many people are feeling so many different things, but they don't know. They don't comprehend what these things are. A lot of people look at them as real negatives, and we're being attacked, and bad guys are, doing a lot of damage, and so on and so forth. But we have to do this. We don't have to, I'll rephrase that, say we choose to experience this. And some of us know that we've chosen it. Doesn't mean that it's a cakewalk for anybody on the planet. But doesn't it make sense that when you can comprehend something, your confidence is real good, strong. Your faith is good. And your trust is good, mostly with yourself. And so as you begin to view more and watch more, it starts to come together. And the picture starts coming out of blurriness into clarity. And you're not concerned about, how long is this going to take? You know that it is in the process of being gone from the planet. You'll know this deeply. And so the way you embrace it's a whole different ballgame. And the biggest thing is to not allow ourselves to become immersed in it again. And a lot of people are being immersed in it. So they're doing things and acting certain ways, as I'm sure you're experiencing out there. Everybody I talk with now, they're saying, it's really getting crazy out there. I've never seen anything like it. People, emotionality and responses and short-tempered. And they're just saying I've never seen anything like this. Now there's a means to the end in this process. God, planet, paradise. I'm so far advanced that right now it's not comprehensible. The technologies, the system itself, is being worked on a universal level, right? It's not just, remember, we're all one, so that means all species, all life is one. It's that big golden ocean. So when you focus on, like this little planet on the outer rim of the Milky Way galaxy, and then you come to a point, and some of you have said this to yourselves, enough's enough. That's simply put, enough's enough. We've all experienced this for several lifetimes, and now kinda you're like putting your foot down as gods. And you're saying, okay, we're grateful that we've experienced this in whatever intensities that we've experienced it. Some of it caused us to leave the body in some lifetimes prematurely. Others motivated us to stay in the body. It just depends on our viewpoint, each of us. So as this is happening, obviously we do know it's going to create what we call chaos. When you don't comprehend something and you don't understand something, what happens? Well, panic, lower vibrational frequencies of fear, worry, stress, anxiety, depression, self-doubt, self-guilt. These are all these emotions that have embedded in these bodies that many really not to some degree of experience, but not at this depth of it. And we're learning along the way. We're experiencing, which is a huge boost for us to be able to be here at this time to experience this chaos. And out of the chaos, we're starting to realize that this planet's transforming. When you experience high vibrational frequencies, and they continue in the ethers and beyond, you go through different levels of adjustment, so to speak. Some of them aren't that great. Some of them we'd like to say, no, I don't really care to go through those. But we're going through all of it. And in the quiet time of these meditations, the reason I give this body of information is so that each and every one of us can pick what we gravitate to. That in our heart minds that, I want this information, I'm going to take this in the quiet time of this meditation and contemplate by just being. And this is no different. This is a absolute magna glorious transition for any planet, any civilization. There are technologies that you'll begin to experience as we transition. That you're just as an observer or a watcher, you'll go, wow, this is absolutely magna glorious. This is phenomenal. Where has this been so long? Why haven't we had this before? Well, the blanket and the dampening of the evil frequencies, the low dark matter frequencies, have contained it and separated it from civilization. The way we operate, all of us, in a system that was created to keep us confused. So when you're confused, it's very difficult to focus on any one thing for any length of period of time because the material, physical, the emotionality, the ego mind is really working hard to keep us in disarray. This is why when you're watching the planet and you're watching people, and you're noticing the lack of unity, of true unity, embrace and love and attention, compassion, respectfulness for one another, for ourselves. Why you see it's not really prevalent, so to speak. And everything is becoming more and more chaotic. So when you look at something on the surface, you're only looking at it on the surface and you're watching it, and you're going, what's behind all this? Why is this happening? And the reason it's happening is because we're ascending. Everyone's ascending. Now, one might say, well, what about the people that are, being fractured in families and marriages? And what about them? They'll go again. They'll reincarnate, and they'll start again until they themselves can comprehend it. And then they too will ascend. And some people will say, well, then I'll lose them because, I ascend and I exist in a much higher frequency. Where does that leave them? Well, it's just through attrition. You're going to have, and some of us have experienced this already, you're just going to have people leave. It's not like they're going to just vanish. They'll just, through sickness and diseases and all of the stuff that's been engineered on this planet, and they'll just leave the body. We're witnessing that now across the planet. Many of us are. And it is an emotional, because we're in these bodies, but it's also, you begin to comprehend why that's happening, because those of us who comprehend ascension and some of the how it happens and what's occurring is a super positive, high frequency, highly elating experience. On the other end, you can feel like you're moving up in your frequencies, but you feel this tugging, like someone's got their arms around, you know, your legs, and you're starting to in an analogy, you're floating up. And so as you're floating up, you're going, what is that? Why? What's doing that? What's pulling at my, there's something trying to pull me down. And these are the lower dark matter frequencies and what we've been heavily steeped in for generations in our psyche. The society and the infrastructure of everything. And it's like being in a cave your whole life, being raised underground in a cave, and you're not plugged into any of the scoop going on the planet or anything ever. And then you come out and you look at all this. What is your response going to be? Huge. Confusion, fear, worry. What's going on here? Is this how they live here? But in the kernel of all this, in the nucleus, this is what you're experiencing, and this is called ascension. Now, a lot of people believe that ascension was this floating and lovely and wonderful, and, you know, boom, you're there. But you're leaving something that is all you've ever known. That can be scary. And emotionality. I mean, that's a given. So it gets scary, especially when you don't have the full story. So there's a lot of unknowns that we're confronted with. There's things that we never even dreamed of that we're now reviewing ourselves, not through judgment, but through heart-mindedness, and saying, wow, this is pretty cool. Yeah, it's challenging for us. If it wasn't, what would we learn? What would we experience? Wasn't really much in anything. So through all the good times and the bad times and the in-between times that we've been on this planet, through generations, and thousands and millions of years, it's all coming together. And you decide. No one else decides for you or influences you. You decide when it's time that you step out of it. And you embrace the ascension. And you begin to talk with your bodies and comprehend the fact that these are higher frequencies coming in. And you remember me a ways back where I talked about we do it collectively. This ascension is orchestrated by all of us and all that there is, ever has been, ever will be, ever beyond, and forever. Doesn't mean that many of us comprehend that or know it, but this is what's happening. And it can become very confusing, very frustrating. It can create fear, frustration, a lot of those things. But when you do step out, when you decide to step out, away, leave the mind and ego alone, and your mind chatter, that's what we do in these meditations, and just be, and focused on the breath rising and falling. And that storm out there, prefabricated storm, yeah, it's raging, and we know that. But now we know that, you know, I've participated in this for a very long time. I'm very grateful from what I've experienced. But now it's time for me to move on and to experience new things, way different than what we have been. And it's a blanket effect. So one might say, well, is it affecting everybody? Yes, absolutely. It's not like, oh, no, we're not going to affect this group over here or this crazy being over here. It's affecting all of us, and we're all responding in different ways. Hence, the chaos. And this is what we're witnessing, is the chaos. And you know, when you go into meditation and your mind chatter's gone and all your worries, stresses, and fears are gone and the ego mind's not there and you're there with your God and you're all just listening to the breath, watching the breath rise and fall. You're relaxed into your body, and that's it. You're in the center of all that chaos. Now the chaos is going on all around you, but there's no chaos where you're at in that moment, in that now. It doesn't exist. This is how we become centered as beings, by doing this, by choosing to do it, and not feel like we're being pressured or forced or guilty if we aren't doing it. It's because we want to do it. We want to embrace it. And it begins to feel better and better and better. Yes, there is a temptation for us, obviously, to go back in there. You know, that storm that's whirring around all of us. But then we say, no, I know what that is. I know what's going on with that. I know what its meaning is because I've been in it for so very long. And then it doesn't draw you anywhere near as much anymore. That pull becomes less and less and less. And then you begin to embrace the God within you more and more and more. And the frequencies, remember, are continually increasing and raising more and more and more. And then you embrace that, and you start to comprehend that, okay, now I'm getting it. For you, in your way, you're getting it. And others, their way, they're getting it. So as these frequencies continue, and they will, and imagine the more that you're in sync with that, so to speak, the more bliss will start bubbling up, the more joy, even in the chaos. And remember, this isn't the ego mind where look at me and I'm doing it. This is heart mindedness where you're saying, this is my home within you, not out there. That all is temporary. And then you'll start to experience the chaos will begin to wane. This is very subtly. Certain things will start showing themselves, and you'll go, aha. And it will continue to dissipate as we go along as a civilization. And then we'll come out of all of it. Will we be, there's that word, changed? Well, from the physical standpoint, and then we're not talking about, different color skin, all that stuff, because these bodies are fifth dimensional. But through all of that, we will view and witness and participate, because we decide to, in this God planet paradise. And you'll witness things, and things will start coming in. And see, you'll be in a spiritual comprehension where you'll say, I know why this didn't come in before. Okay? I know why it was kept from the civilization. And so all this will come in bit by bit. It won't be overwhelming. And we'll start embracing it. And then we'll start adapting to this new earth. And the elation, jubilation, and sincere, deep, eternal love that you feel for yourself, which then will start emanating out to everybody else, is just going to be absolutely off the charts, magna glorious. This is where we're going. We're not there, of course, not yet. But this is why we're experiencing what we're experiencing right now with all this chaos. It isn't going to last. It is the end times for the dark frequencies of this planet. When you hear the word end times, that's exactly what it means. The end of the dark frequencies hold on this planet, on us, which is super spectacular. Absolutely. For some, it'll be mind-bending. And others will just open their arms, go outside, yell out, it's here. And you'll start vibrating with that because, some of us, we've had this in our lives where we knew some things, we kind of knew some things, even when we were children, couldn't put our finger on it. It seemed like it was elusive. And now it's all going to come into clear view for us. And there won't be, those of us who are in that comprehension, it's not going to be like anger and frustration and irritation. It'll be a welcoming and a full embracing of this new earth and of this God-planned paradise. And I will share, the dark's not coming back. When civilizations and planetary bodies experience this, it's for keeps. Why is that? Because the entire civilization, those who do transition through the ascension process, that was an experience, okay? So the collective consciousness has experienced that. It will not experience it again because of the raised vibrational frequencies and our perspectives in that frequency. It won't come back. It's not something that is temporary and 1,000 years later it's back. It's not coming back. Things will begin, and more so, transition in your lives, transition in things around you, and you'll know it's a high vibrational frequency. You will know that this is the truth, that it is not, there's no more lies, there's no more sneakiness and corruption, and all the things we've experienced in our lives will be gone. There won't be any opportunity for even a quantum particle of those low frequencies to start up again. They won't exist. Now we know, say we'll have the comparison because we know that what that's like, because we've all experienced it. And not just superficially. We have all experienced it many times. This is a good thing. And so since we've experienced it and our vibrational frequencies continue to increase, it will not have the ability to pull us down again. Just won't. So what we're really looking at, those who are in it, eventually they'll figure it out. Those of us who've decided not to be in it, no. We know. We also have that feeling that this too shall pass. It's the duration that gets to us. It's the length of time, what we're confronted with. It seems like things are falling out of the sky on top of us at times, and we're like going, wow, no matter where you go, it keeps falling on you. And then you say to yourself, this is a good thing. I'm grateful to be experiencing it. And slowly but surely, as those of us who are aware enough, we're moving out of it. And so the chaoticness is the dark's erratic, anxious, hurried attempt to not allow that to happen. And it doesn't have the power anymore. Yes, it's there. We know it. Yes, we're experiencing it. We know it. But you'll watch it as it begins to wane. Period. And you'll notice it. Wait a minute, this isn't as strong as it was. And then there'll be some, like a cloudy sky. And the sun's up there. And then you see these rays of sunlight coming through the cloudy sky to the ground. Well, your whole existence was that all you saw was a cloudy sky. And then the sunbeams keep penetrating those cloud masses, and the clouds start to open up more and more, and then you start seeing beautiful indigo blue sky. Not a lot, but you start to see it, and you've never seen it before. And it starts to get more. And the clouds begin to, for the first time, dissipate. They're still there because you can see them here and there. But you're focused on the blue sky and the rays of sun, not the dark clouds anymore. Because the prevalence of the blue sky and the sunbeams are much more now than the dark clouds. and you're watching this from a watcher, viewer, observer standpoint, and the feelings that you're going to experience are going to be off the charts. And I mean in a high way. You know, genetic gene structure is transforming. The material existence is transforming. Everything is transforming. Everything is ascending. And like I said, it's like, you know when you're ready for something? You may not know you're ready, but then you experience it and you go, okay, I can handle this. Others will say, no way, and back off. And this is the transition of the ascension process. And we're in it. Hook, line, and sinker. And it makes a big difference when you can comprehend what's actually happening. Okay? Now the dark wants everything on this planet to believe it's in control and it's in charge and it's going to get you, so to speak. And actually, the opposite is happening. So in the quiet time of this meditation, focus on relaxing into your body, being as still as a statue, and watching your breath rise and fall, and be with the information I've imparted to you. And whatever tickles you, embrace. I'll join you in meditation. I'll return to close this out. Take an easy and slow breath in through the nose, and an easy and slow breath out from the mouth. Remain still, focused in your body, relaxing into the body. Focusing on the breath rising and falling. Remember that these frequencies will increase things. Some of them not good because of the knee-jerk response and reactions that we may have. So be careful to just be the watcher and not the observer and the watcher and not the participant. Because these frequencies are very strong and they're of spiritual origin and the purest of deepest eternal love. But like I said in the beginning of this meditation, we will be confronted with deep-seated emotions and feelings inside that we've buried that will surface. And it depends on where you're at emotionally with yourself. That's why we've been talking about this for so long, the last 7 years. And it's up to you to discertain with yourself and not in judgment or harshness on yourself, but to realize that this is a storm and it is upon us. And it is up to us to say, okay, I understand this. And you may think things that you want to verbalize, but you'll abstain from that because of the fact that you know that those are low vibrational frequencies and it's happening all over the planet. But now you know why this is happening, and it explains to a certain extent why people are becoming so agitated and irresponsible in certain things and verbalizing things and making statements towards others. And it doesn't mean that they're doing it on purpose. It just means that it's a knee-jerk reaction on the emotionality of the body. So you want to take this into your heart mind, cleanse it out, and always maintain the deep eternal love that you are, and stay out of that storm. Because the storm is on us, and it is in the negative, but it will pull the deep-seated emotions and feelings that many of us have suppressed throughout this lifetime. And those of you who are aware of that, you will embrace it, and you will abstain. You'll move yourself out of it. And it's not like we don't know how to do that. We just initiate it and make that decision. This is a magna glorious transition for humanity and for the people of this planet. And the end result is going to be a God-planet paradise. Take this with you for the rest of the day into the evening and night, the following morning. We will return here tonight, Wednesday, September 25th, a little after 9:15 p.m. Eastern. We'll go into more depth about it so that people can start assimilating and then really it'll explain to them a lot of things that they're kind of confused about. And that's why I call it the truth of what's really transpiring on this planet amongst all of the stuff that we're experiencing. Those who are in the training sessions will receive the link info tomorrow. Much love to everyone.